Okay, so there must not be anybody in here. Well, there might be. Hang on one second. Yeah, I'm here. I had my mic muted. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to start again. Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and last week we were talking about past lives, or I was doing a number of past life readings. What the heck? What? Okay. Okay, well, I seem to be still running. This is beyond bizarre. Okay, so my other computer, the one that I to kind of do this 11th hour rush and pull this computer over. Um, maybe I just need to like go back to bed. Oh, shit. I'm glad that, it's just you in here, Celine, because this is beyond embarrassing. Okay. This thing, man, I should just start this whole show over again. Okay. So there are people, we were talking about past lives last week, and I don't even know where to go. And so I thought I would spend some time talking about past lives this week, and the whole concept behind them. And so there are many people that believe that, when we die, that we have a soul and, something happens with our soul. In the Christian faith, you go to heaven, or hell and spend eternity there. There are other groups that suggest that when you die, you end up going to I am so sorry. That when you die, that instead of just going to heaven or going to hell where you're there like forever, you go that your soul, because it doesn't die, it doesn't disappear for forever. There I am. Yay. Okay. Much better. All right. Yeah, I'm so sorry, everybody. This show is like starting off really funky. Anyway, so that when you die, You don't necessarily go to hell or heaven, but that your body reincarnates. And for me personally, the idea of reincarnation is kind of a mixed bag, because there is a piece of me that goes, reincarnation, that just seems so weird. Like I can't imagine it on a cognitive, like, body level. There's incongruity with me. However, I do recognize that when you die, you're not trapped in heaven, because if you're interacting with a ghost, it's somebody that's died and they came back to visit. Um, those ones that have left and come back. I mean, they're the ones that are stuck, but we're not talking about those. But also, when you do a past life reading or with a hypnotherapist, a past life regression, they can take you back to a lifetime that you've experienced in the past. And in my work, I've done a huge number of past life readings for people, where I see their past lives, and I've taken hypnotherapy and gotten hypnotized and looked at my own past lives or some of my past lives, and so from that perspective, I know it's true, but then there's some cognitive dissonance around the whole thing. How's that? Um, so I don't know where you are in this whole thing, whether you kind of believe it, don't believe it, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Um, but I just wanted to bring up some points about it. You know, one of the ways that you might find yourself accessing a past life. Okay, so when we have a past life, we are able to tap into the energy of it. So if you find yourself being able to do things with little or no effort, and little or no explanation, it might be because you're accessing the information from a past life. Like if you're really into herbs and for some reason it's like you just know about them, it might be because you were a healer in a past life. Or you might find yourself drawn to people or certain places, and it might be because you have had a past life experience with that person or that place, like, so for me, and I know a lot of people say this, but I'm just really drawn to Egypt. Anything really old, I'm drawn to, but I want to share this one story. So I have a friend named Michael, and I met him through a mutual friend, and we went out dancing and then went to go get something to eat after the club closed. And I have to tell you, we acted like we had known each other for like a million years because we were just like blah 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 blah. And it just was so comfortable being with him, again, like I had known him forever, which wasn't true. I only met him a couple of hours ago. Sometimes there might have been something that happened to you in a past life that you are bringing forward. Um, and I'm speaking of that based in particularly on health issues. Okay, and so about 20, 30 years ago, it was like, oh, well, I get headaches. It must be from a past life. Oh, I have this. It must be from a past life. I don't think so. And when I'm working with a client, I only look at what's going on in this life because usually there's enough stuff to work on and enough stuff to fix from this lifetime that you don't really need to go looking at the past to figure out where it's coming from, because a lot of stuff happens in our current lifetime. But sometimes there are people that are manifesting some issue where there's not anything from that lifetime. So, for example, I had a client who had this shoulder issue. He was a fireman and he lost like the mobility in his shoulder and he couldn't even figure out how it happened. And one of the things I'm able to do is to sit there on a timeline and go back to see where the trauma originated. Ooh, don't do that. To see where the trauma originated, but if I get to birth, and I can do a certain amount in utero, and if I don't see anything, um, then it tells me that it came from a past life. The number of times that has occurred in session has been finite, finite, really. So if you're thinking, oh, I have this hangnail because of a past life, probably not. Probably not. Um, but when I am looking at a past life in someone, one of the things that I'm looking at is what energies they're working on. What energies are they tapping into in this lifetime, either to support them and help them move forward, or it's a dysfunctional energy that they really need to work on clearing in this life. Um, but not everything comes from the past, like I said. One of the other things about past lives, so, and this is kind of funny, there are a number of people who will say, oh, yeah, I had a past life regression and I was Cleopatra, or I had a past life regression and, I was, some person, historic figure. Well, you can only have one Cleopatra and one historic figure. You can't have 20. And so my feeling is that the session was contaminated, that there's something not right happening, because we all can't be kings, we all can't be rich, we all can't be, whatever we want to be. Okay, so with that said, when I was taking my hypnotherapy training, and just FYI, I don't do hypnosis with my clients. I mean, I took the training, but I don't do it. In case you were wondering. Um, but in that class, we were doing a past life regression, and so the lifetime that I came upon was I was an Indian, as in dot Indian, not feather Indian, pooper scooper. And my job was to follow along the king, emperor, Raja, whoever, the boss guy, follow behind him and his elephant. And I had like these knee pads on, and I just shuffled along the ground, waiting for the elephant to poop so I could scoop it up. I mean, how far from Cleopatra can you get to be an Indian pooper scooper in a past life? But it was interesting because the emotional energy charged on it was people couldn't see me. People didn't know who I was. People didn't know how great I was, and it was hard for me to own the fact that what they saw when they interacted with me was an Indian pooper scooper. So, and it just came up, this story. I just thought of it before this session, before this live stream, but I really need to kind of think on that to see what the implication of that was and why that came up for me, because I feel like, at least at this point in time, that there was a message in it that I really didn't grasp. I mean, I wasn't upset, but it was like, okay, Indian pooper scooper, yay. Okay. Um, but if there's something going on, okay, so getting a past life reading is kind of a looky-loo thing. They're fun, you get some information. If there's something going on that you want help with, I would suggest that you find a hypnotherapist that specializes in past life regression. There's a guy named Michael Newton who wrote this book, Life Between Lives. And his students and trainers often do past life regression work. And even like with the gentleman who had the bad elbow or the bad shoulder, I went back and I made the suggestion that it was a past life issue that he was dealing with. And I didn't go any further because I didn't want to contaminate the session that he might have with the therapist. Because I could say, oh, well, you were King Tut and you got murdered and they stabbed you in the shoulder and that's why it hurts. You know, don't want to contaminate. And sometimes we have our own thoughts about what that past life might be. And it's really important to just kind of put it to the side and see what comes up and what happens. But finding the right person to take you on that journey can be really beneficial and a wonderful experience. Whether you're trying to fix something that is going on, or if you just want to explore that lifetime and potentially heal it. Um, yeah. So, so anyway, that's all I got. I don't know. This show started off weird, so I'm just, I'm kind of a little at a loss. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat line, but I got to have like the right mouse to make things work right. But before I do, I would, what the heck? If you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please go to soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com and send me a message and we can set something up. Or you can like my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. It has my bright, shining face and not a poodle with a tinfoil hat as the icon. And like the page, and it'll keep you informed of upcoming live streams. Or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be Just Energy Radio on YouTube. If you would do any of these things, I would greatly appreciate it. Your support and help in this. Okay, so I'm going to open up the chat line, and hopefully y'all got some really great questions for me, even though we had a rough start. And we're going to go from here. I'm going to say hi and go from there. Hi, Selena. Hey, Miss Heidi. Amy. Maria. Maria, I hope you're feeling better. Veronica. Hey, Veronica. And Anton. Good evening, Anton. But I don't see any questions. So, guys, some questions, please. Oh, we got Veronica. Okay, let's see what does she say. What is causing me to have a burning skin sensation? Food, supplement? Huh. Well, you can't say it's the sun. All right, Veronica, let me see. So it's challenging for me to say it is this one because there's so much stuff going on. But I am, all right, so this is the impression that I get, Veronica. My impression is that you're pretty consistent in the foods you eat. Even though I feel like you eat a variety of foods, I feel like it's consistent. You don't eat weird stuff or weird stuff for you, and so with that said, I'm feeling like it's more coming from a supplement. I do feel like it is something you're ingesting, so that's number one, but I'm not feeling like, if it was a food you were eating, it would be something that you would need to be eating on a consistent basis to have your skin burn like that. How's that? And I feel like you eat a variety of foods and it would be very noticeable to you. So if there are any supplements that you started taking in the last, I don't know, they're saying 30 days, then maybe quit taking them and see what happens. And then, if you want, start reintroducing them to see what you're having the issue with. Okay? All right. Thanks, Veronica. All right. So Dave says hi. So Dave, I'm just going to address you directly. Do you have a question? Do you want like a past life reading? Since you're here early and you can ask the question before 8 o'clock. Okay. So Veronica, again, I feel like it's something that you're eating and something that you've started taking in the last 30 days, really not even the last 30 days, but I'm feeling like it's more than 2 weeks. So, yeah, and I feel like if you use that as the guideline, it would be pretty easy to isolate what it is, what's going on. Okay. So Dave was here last week and he came kind of late. See, I'm going to rat you out, Dave. And and it was like almost 8 o'clock, and he wanted to get a past life reading, but it was past time, and it was pretty hopping in here. Hey, Bradley. Okay, Dave. So let's see, Dave. Oh, this is kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this fits in your life. So you are showing me. So the image that you're showing me, Dave, is of you on a boat. I mean, it's not a super giant boat, but it's a big enough boat to transverse large water bodies. Like I'm not feeling like it was an ocean liner, and I'm not really sure how big, like colonial ships were, but it was a boat. And I see you. Oh, this is interesting. And I see you looking out at the ocean or the water in front of you. I mean, you don't see any land, and there's this part of you that is really looking forward to this new adventure, because I feel like wherever you were going on this boat, and there was you and other people, so you were going somewhere, that you were really looking forward to the new beginning, the new start, the new adventure, um, of this unexplored land, unexplored for you, land. Hmm. So I don't know if in your life things have really been turning around, emotionally, where you are looking forward to the fun that life has to hold, or these new adventures, or whatever. But if that resonates with you, that would be great if you share that with me. Okay, so Bradley George, hey, uh, I'm not quite sure what your post means. Do you have any questions for me, guys? Amy, question. Heidi, question. Maria, question. I'd be happy to answer them, or else it's going to be a very long and slow show. Okay. I had another story that I was going to throw in there, but now I can't think of it. Um, I already told you that story. Dang. Oh, okay. So Bradley doesn't have a question. He just likes feeling the vibe. I know it is pretty good vibe. Good vibe. Okay. Um, so I've also had, so this was not during regression. And so you can have past life recall, just spontaneous past life recall. And so one past life recall that I've had, and it's been consistent throughout the years, has been this image of me in a dungeon, chained up, like a castle, wet, funky dungeon. Um, and I was down there because I was speaking my truth, and I was censored and put into the dungeon. And I find it interesting because in this lifetime, it has been very important for me to speak my truth and share that, even though, um, sometimes it is actually kind of hard. And I think part of it too is there is this fear that if I speak my truth, then that's going to be the outcome of what, you know, like I'll end up in jail. I'll end up in some cold, wet, rat filled dungeon eating beans and bread and, sleeping on a wet cement floor. Not really interested in that. Anyway, okay, so Celine would like to get a little past life reading. Okay, Selena, sorry. Let's see. Okay, so I'm not sure if this will make sense for you, Selena. So I'm just going to say what I'm seeing and kind of bring it into present time and let me know if this resonates with you. Okay, so in this past life, so it was like King Arthur type days. And actually, you were a woman of nobility. You really did have some kind of rank and privilege in that lifetime. But since that time, I feel like you have not been able to reach that level, reach that same financial situation, social situation. Today a positive social situation, or status is really tied to money. So that monetary setting or whatever. And I feel like there's this piece of you that just kind of keeps chasing after it, or really would like it and feel like without it, there's something missing from your life. Like I can't quite get there. Um, and I feel like it just keeps bouncing off of that one lifetime, um, because you had it before, but it's not like that now. So please follow up on that and tell me if that resonates with you. But I just feel like there's this disconnect. This is how it should be. This is how my life should be because I'm the Duchess of Windsor or Duchess of whatever, but I'm not now, and it's annoying. And you want to have that same stature, but you don't. Hope that makes sense. Okay, Antone, let's see. Let's see what's going on with you. Wow. Okay. So the first thing that came up for me was Cuba. Cuba. And I get the impression, so the lifetime that's coming up for you, and it's not particularly a pleasant lifetime, is that you were in Cuba during the colonization of the Americas, and you were actually like from Spain and were one of the people that kind of put all of the native people into slavery and ran, so you weren't like the super boss guy. You were just one of the worker people doing what you were told, but there was this whole slavery thing. There was this whole indigenous population thing where they got treated like crap. And in that lifetime, from an emotional place, I feel like it really bothered you, excuse me, having to do your job, that there was a part of you that really empathized with the slaves and empathized with the indigenous people. Um, and I feel like in this lifetime, you still have that sensitivity. You really don't like discrimination or injustice. And you don't like people to be put down. Um, because it just, I don't know, I just feel like it hurts you, like in a fourth chakra, heart centered kind of way. It just really bothers you and hurts you. So please, any follow up on that, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so Veronica wants to know, do you read pets? Kind of not really. I'm going to say not really. You can throw the question out. I don't guarantee results. And if you ask about a snake, definitely not, or a bird. Dog, cat, maybe. Um, I can't guarantee the results, but I will try because you just never know. Where'd you go? All right. Okay, so Selena got back and she said, yes, this does resonate. I do want to manifest more financial abundance, but I do feel blocked from having more. Any remedies to clear this? Um, well, Selena, it's very interesting, because when I look at that past life, there's kind of this ego part tied to it where you are just, I'm a noble and you're not, and I have money and you should serve me. But a big egotistical piece. And obviously now, not as much, not so much. Um, and I feel like when you come to accept where you are now, when you come to accept this is my life, this is what I have, and not want, not desire, not crave that financial success, then I feel like it will start to clear it. So let me know if that made sense to you, okay? Okay, so Veronica wants to know about her chihuahua. I don't know. Hit me, Veronica, with a question and we'll see. I don't know. All right, so Chris wants to know, I would like to know your thoughts. I struggle with the concept of past life because of my beliefs that all of time is happening in every moment. Um, well, and Chris, and you probably weren't here for the beginning of the show. I struggle with the idea of past lives myself. Um, More, I'm going to say, and I'm like so not a religious person, but more from a religious context where I don't know what to do with it. Even though I'll sit here and talk about past lives, do readings about past lives, but then there's this little piece of me that doubts that past lives are real, which really makes absolutely no sense. Um, and I understand what you're saying that that all time is happening in every moment. And I've heard people talk about that and put out that theory. But that one's even harder, like it's even harder for me to sit there and look at life from a non-linear perspective. Um, yeah, that's all I got. I'm not even sure, because I guess I just can't really wrap my mind around that based on other things that I've seen, you know, but I'm not saying it's not true. So it's not like a diss on what you're saying, it's just that I don't know. And it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. Okay, hang on. Chris came back. Let's see. I feel more like we just reach in and view something that is happening concurrently. Chris, and that is possible, but it wouldn't be view, it would be experience something that is happening concurrently. When I've done past life readings for people, and when I look at their energy, it seems apparent to me that they've only incarnated on this planet a couple of times, and that not that I could say, they came from Andromeda or whatever, but the bulk of their past lives were not on this planet, and they were very new souls to this planet. And so that makes it's all happening at the same time, even more complicated. And it really requires that you take a step back and 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 look at the whole reality. I don't even want to say reality in life, the whole reality from a different framework. And at this time I have not taken the time to do that. So um, again, not disagreeing with you and not saying it's not possible. I just don't have uh, the framework or the experience in one way or another to make commentary. I wish I could, but I don't. All right, so Miss Jody said hi. Hey, Jody. Hey, so I saw Heidi in here and you're in here, Jody. So if David is listening, I'm going to tell my story. If he is. Anyway, okay. So Veronica says she really freaked out when I leave. I know it is separation anxiety. What can I do to help her? She also nips certain people on the ankles if they come to my apartment. Are these people untrustworthy or is she just protective? Okay, good question. The separation anxiety, uh, little dogs have little dog anxiety. And I've always had smaller dogs and they've all had anxiety, some more than others. Um, I always try to leave them with toys to play with. I'm wondering if kenneling her up when you go out with a toy or something like that would make her feel more secure because it's a more enclosed environment. And, especially if it's a like a hard sided kennel where there's less distraction going on. Um, I know that when I'm at when I'm at my girlfriend's house and I go out and I leave Raylan there, so there's her dog that gets kenneled and then Raylan that gets kenneled, and then I come back and he just and I'll like go in the door and he'll be like, "Ah!" I have footage. I mean, it's just like, oh my god, it sounds like somebody's trying to kill him. And I know he does that, if he hears any noise because he wants you to get them. As far as part number two, I think it is a two-part answer. I feel like that she is being protective, but I feel like she's being protective because the people kind of have bad mojo. Not like it's really bad, but it's uncomfortable for her. She does seem very sensitive. Um, so I would maybe take that as a little, not red flag, but, put an antenna up to pay attention to other things this person does, um, because it might be. I know, but all right, so I'm going to talk to Jody here a second. Okay, Jody. Ricky's there. But I have a story about Uncle Johnny, and I was kind of hoping David would be here so you could all hear the story at the same time. All right. So, but I will tell it today. I promise. I will tell it today. Okay, but I'm going to come back to you. So, Antone said, wow, I relate to the water story better. My grandfather, I was told, was a riverboat captain on the Mississippi River. Okay. When I do these readings, it's like it goes in my head and out my mouth, and then I don't remember what the heck I say. I know that I told David a water story. Um, yeah. Anyway. All right. So you guys keep asking questions. All right. So I'll click on Jody. Okay. So if you like follow the show on a regular basis, I don't talk about dead people. I mean, if you have a ghost at your house, I'll come to your house and talk to you about your ghost, but I don't want to like do mediumship reading, which is like talk to dead people reading, because my feeling is that it will draw them to me and then they might come to my house and I don't want them to come to my house. However, every so often they will just show up. So for example, I was driving to the gym, to the post office. I don't know. I was driving somewhere in the morning and a friend of mine that I knew was in the hospital showed up in the passenger seat of the car. So I called a mutual friend because I was kind of freaking out, going, wow, is she dead? but she died 2 days later. But she was like unconscious at that point in time, and she died 2 days later. So anyway, so this is for my cousins, Jody and Ricky and Heidi. And if David was here, he would hear this story too, but you're just going to have to tell him. So this was obviously a number of years ago. And I'm going to have to preface the story with I'm really not a dreamer. I hit the pillow, I sleep. If I have to pee, it will wake me up. If I'm cold, it will wake me up. If I have a really bad dream, it will wake me up. But in between those events, it's just lights out, close my eyes, sleep, wake up, and there's not anything in between. So one night I had this dream that your dad, my Uncle Johnny, so I don't know, for some reason it was just this gray, misty plane. And he was really far away from me, but was walking toward me. And for some reason, and this was just the bizarreness of it, and for some reason he was coming to me so I could do like Reiki or energy work on him. And I'm thinking to myself, well, one, how would he know that I did Reiki? Because I doubt my mom knows what Reiki is to tell him what Reiki is, that he would know that I did Reiki. And why would he be coming to me? I mean, the whole thing just seemed bizarre, but it was like, hey, but it's Uncle Johnny. Cool. Come on, let's go do some energy work. And he got about 10 feet from me in this dream and looked at me and he said, you know what? I'm all right. And he turned around and walked away. And I woke up. And it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. And I didn't go back to sleep because I knew, or I felt like I was just waiting for the phone call. Just waiting for the phone call. 10 o'clock, my mom called. He had passed. And it was like, wow. So they show up in all kinds of weird places. Yeah, so I just want to let you know Uncle Johnny came, but, it was part of me, and I'm kind of throwing this out as a question. If you actually know what time he transitioned, I got a phone call at 10 o'clock, and that would have been Texas time. I think it was in Texas at that time. So 10 o'clock Texas time, it would have been 11 o'clock Eastern time. That's something that always made me wonder, like how close to this weird precognitive dream did all of that transpire. Anyway, any input, thoughts, ideas, I would love it. And sorry if that was hard to hear, but I've never shared that story with you. Okay, so anybody else have a question for me? All right, so Jody said, wow, thanks for sharing. So Jody, since Ricky's right there, I don't know if he knows anything, but um, I would love an answer to that question, because it was just, you know, by the time when I woke up, it was like I knew there was a message in the dream. I knew it, and I didn't go back to sleep, and I literally was waiting for the phone to ring. And when it was my mom, it was like she didn't even have to tell me because I already knew. You know, blessing and a curse. Doing this kind of work, a blessing and a curse always. Um, all right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, well then I will just kind of keep blabbing and stuff. All right, so Antone, I'm going to go back to your comment. And I could hear that you can relate to the water story better, but just because your grandfather was a captain on the Mississippi doesn't mean that you that there is that connection for you. But hang on, let's see if you have a water lifetime. Hang on. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. And so you're showing me a lifetime, and I want to say that it's like in the West, I want to say maybe Hawaii, California, but over there. And the image you keep showing me is of this little child playing on the beach and looking for sand and picking up stones and just having so much fun with the adventure and the exploring of all of these little finds that were out on the beach. You keep showing me this 5 or 6 year old um, in that image. Okay, so why are you showing me this? It's interesting because you just showed me. See, now I remember what I talked to you about, the Cuba thing and the island, um, and this other one that's coastal. But what you're showing me this one about is this sense of wonder and how even trivial things you can, and I'm kind of putting words in your mouth here a little bit, that you can find the beauty and the wonder about all that's going on. And you like to have these new experiences um, and bring those in. And it's interesting because as I'm saying those words, I feel like that part of you, that young soul spirit part of you, has been a little bit tainted um, in the last few years. So that might be something that you take a look at, because I feel like where you're the happiest and where you're experiencing the most joy is in the exploration and the finding and the, excuse me, discovering the unknown. And I feel like you've kind of lost that. And maybe that's where that Cuba lifetime is coming, or why that Cuba lifetime was coming up. Because even when I sit there and I look at where you are now compared to that energy of the little kid, it's like I just feel like there's kind of a layer of sadness. And so and please, I don't like to get political on the show, but I'm just wondering if the things that you see going on the planet are affecting you and kind of taking that spontaneity out of you. It's just something to think about. Okay, so it was all right. So my uncle Johnny died at 1:30 a.m. So it was after. So he came to me after, but obviously before my mom found out. That's for sure. All right, thank Jody. Thank you for finding out, and tell the David. Thank you for sharing that piece of information. Because again, it was 5:30 in the morning. Because I remember looking at the clock, going, "Okay, just had this dream. It's 5:30." So, and I was kind of expecting a call right away. So, all right, cool. Thank you. All right, so Veronica says, yeah, I have trouble believing in past lives because how do we know another spirit isn't putting those memories in our head? Well, that's kind of an interesting. Okay, and then her little follow up comment is, especially if a person is intuitive anyway. Okay, and so that's why, if I have someone who needs to do therapeutic work on addressing and healing a past life, I won't say anything because a past life can be easily contaminated. I do these readings because they're kind of fun, and I really only look at what you're using and bringing into this life more on a positive level versus trying to fix something that is broken, or that there is some trauma that you're still holding on to in a past life. Um, so I think, so that's why I don't feel bad about talking about that. Um, but you're right about the whole idea of contamination. As far as somebody else putting them in your head, so when I'm accessing past lives, what I do is I have like a giant tree that I visualize, or a flower, and you are the bud of the flower, and I follow the vine down, I follow the stalk down until I hit a spot, because these are all lifetimes, that is lighting up and wanting me to talk about it. So it's not like I'm just getting some weird thing. It's, part of your energy existence. I hope that made sense. That was, kind of talking about that is a little weird. Okay. So, Antone, it's sounding better, a little more collected and congruent to you. Yay. Uh, so, Jody says, God, my computer is just acting up. Jody says she has goosebumps. Cool. Jody, I just like don't want other people to die so that I have these dreams. So I come on here and talk about like all our family that died because I had a dream. Because that would suck. But it was just really weird because he's the only person that in the family that's ever come to me in a dream. And it was just so strong. So strong. So, all right, Veronica said, wow, and yes. Um, and one of the things that I was talking about before, so Veronica was talking about, putting past life memories in our head, and I think that there are a lot of people that will get a past life reading, and the person will tell them you were Cleopatra, or you were this, or you were that. And maybe, I mean, my personal favorite, okay, and so hopefully no one thinks this way here, but my personal favorite are people that, that like have accessed all their past lives. And they're like, well, on my 25th past life on Atlantis, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of don't really believe Atlantis existed. So it makes it even harder to own that they had, like 25 past lives on Atlantis or whatever, you know. Um, I really like, speculating more on the here and now. So doing past life readings are for entertainment purposes only. And we have, and I hopefully I'm going to say this right, Challie. And Challie, I am doing great. And if you have a question, you can throw it on up there. I don't predict the future and I don't talk about dead people. Um, we've been having a whole discussion about past lives today. So if you have a question about that, um, feel free to let me know. So, Chili, okay, you said yes, thank you. So if you want a reading, you have to post a question because I only respond to question. Interesting. So, Celine, that's a great question. Thank you. Okay. So her question is, what is more accurate, a past life regression or an Akashic reading? Okay, so we're a little bit talking apples and oranges. Okay, so a past life regression is a hypnotherapeutic state where the person takes you back through your psyche and back through your time to arrive at a past life. So you're doing all the heavy lifting and accessing and interacting and experiencing. I mean, experiencing on a body level, it can be, or an emotional level, versus an Akashic reading is a reading. I mean, it's like getting a past life reading. It's a reading. So, the accuracy really depends on the person that's doing the reading. Um, I don't trust a whole lot of readers. How's that? This is what I do for a living, and I probably am one of the most discriminating people um, to get a reading from anyone because I just get the impression that people just talk and they're not necessarily clear. Um, that they're not necessarily a clear channel. So if the person that you're working with is not necessarily a clear channel, then my impression would be that the reading is not really accurate. So again, past life regression is, you're doing the heavy lifting. You're being guided by someone to explore yourself versus an Akashic reading, where you're just getting a reading and the accuracy really depends on the reader. Okay, so Dave says, I like the idea of a new adventure. Well, Dave, I hope you're not going to move anywhere to have this new adventure, but I look forward for you adventuring more because that would be fun. I think you're really ready for it. So that's my 2 cents. Okay. So Veronica has come back and said, agreed, some psychics only get bits, not whole stories, so they make it up. Um, you know, I don't think, I'm going to kind of shift that comment just a smidge, Veronica. I don't think they make it up. I don't think there's an intentionality of making it up, but they run it through their filters and their life experience. And that's how it comes out versus they see the energy and whatever is going on in them, they step to the side and just bring through the information. Um, if that makes sense. But I don't think, or, it's my hope that they're not intentionally making it up, but I do feel like, people's biases and preconceived notions can tend to fill in the blanks, which, is their blanks and not an accurate reading. Okay, so Chaley, sorry, wants to know what is the extent of the relationship between Daniel and I in our past life together, please. Okay. All right, you're my last question. So let's see, Daniel and you. Okay, so when I look at, so the first thing that came up was that in this lifetime, Daniel was older than you, like significantly older than you, like father age older than you, but I don't get the impression that he was your father. You're showing me this very little girl. He might have been uncle or a friend of the family. I feel like you had a lot, that there was a very strong bond between the two of you, and that you loved him a lot because he was always very nice to you. Um, and you looked up to him. Um, okay, so I really don't want to take this negative, but I feel like there's some confusion in your space about the relationship with Daniel because that's how it was then, and I feel like it's a bit more, I'll say, complicated in this lifetime. Anyway, our time is up for today, so I'm going to wrap it up. Chaley, if you want to come back and explore that relationship with Daniel a bit more, please come back next Monday night, and we will do that again. So again, if you'd like to schedule a private consultation from me, please go to soulhealer.com and fill out the contact form, and I will get back to you right away. Don't forget to like Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Just Energy Radio, on YouTube. So